All right. Good evening, everybody. Let me shut this starting soon thing off because it looks like to me we've started. Okay, we're having some issues over here in the southern Nevada area. We are having high winds, this doggone storm. Power's already been out once. So if I disappear, peace. Have a good night. We'll try again tomorrow, maybe. This storm's supposed to be pretty nasty tonight. And so, yeah, if the power goes out, I got to try to find my way into the house because my studio's in the garage, for those of you that don't know. So if you hear the wind blowing and stuff, that's what it is. My apologies. Not much I can do about that. It is what it is, and that's what we have to work with. So let's get this thing started. Gonna do something tonight that we haven't done, and we'll explain it shortly. Let's start this presentation off properly. We are brought to you by myhelmettalk.com. Please check us out. Let's go. All right. So since we missed our video last night, we had a lot of stuff going, and it just wasn't going to be a good night to try to concentrate and do a video. So we pushed that till next week. The Triple J show will resume next Saturday night. Sometimes things come up, folks. It's the way, it's just what happens. So I decided to do this one tonight, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. And some will like it, some won't. And, you know, it's all good. I'm good either way. It don't matter to me. But we're going to do it. And the thing I'm going to do is, and I'm going to start doing this once a month. Okay. So, you know, and everybody brings it up, mentions it and this and that. And, you know, a celebrity, something happens to a celebrity and it's all over the news and everybody's talking about it and everybody's posting about it and stuff. But you lose a military personnel or a law enforcement personnel in the line of duty, and you don't hear anything about it. And so once a month, I'm going to get on and I'm going to go over the law enforcement officers that are posted to the Officers Down Memorial page for the previous month. And I'm going to try and do this as close to the first of the month as I can every month and be consistent with it. I looked, and I will continue to look to try to find a reference for military personnel as well and do the same on a separate video for military personnel. The thing I found today is I haven't yet found the spot that's as easy to navigate as what I found for the law enforcement officers down memorial page. It is very very well put together, very easy to read and see what's going on. So I will continue to search for one of those as far as military goes as well, because I'd like to do both. Our first responders and our military, they're very important to us. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that anybody's life is more important than any other life, but it seems to me that our first responders, our law enforcement personnel, our military personnel, they have a lot to do with our freedom and our safety. Pretty doggone important people as far as I'm concerned. And I know that in the biker community, the motorcycle enthusiast community, more so on the biker side, there's a big debate on who's what and who gives a shit. I don't care. It don't matter. I don't really care. I ride independent, and that's the way I like it. But to each their own. But I know there's a big group of people that despise cops, law enforcement, and have a lot of heartburn with them. Now, I got to say this. If you're on the side of the law where you bring attention to yourself, you bring that on yourself. If you dislike law enforcement because they've put you in prison, wrote you tickets, whatever the case might be, then you brought that on yourself. They got a job to do, and they're doing their job. And so it's kind of hypocritical to dislike them for that. If you dislike them because of the bad ones out there, and there are some bad ones out there that do bad things, break the laws. You look in the news, they're involved in this goofy dang human child trafficking, and there are some, but that's not all of them. That's not everybody. That's those few. And this is the argument. So let me just say this argument that I hear so many times on the biker pages. I follow a lot of biker pages. I enjoy their message. I enjoy the shows that they produce and put on, and the content that they take their time to put together for us to view. I do. But here's a common thing that I hear so much, and it is that there's bad cops, and they do bad things, and they profile, and they do this and they do that, and they pull you over for no reason and whatnot. They're involved in this. Look, this bad cop did this. Well, the argument that I hear from the other side is just because one or two of the bike club or biker gang, however you're categorized or want to categorize yourself, is involved in criminal activity. Are they all? And this is where the hypocritical part comes in, because the argument that I hear so many times is that the clubs are not criminal enterprises. The cops always try to get RICO, try to do this, try to do that. They're not criminal enterprises because one or two or three or four of their members go off on their own and commit crimes. It doesn't make the whole organization a criminal enterprise. That's the argument I hear. But then they'll turn around and say that they hate all cops. Cops are bad because of the bad few. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But at any rate, I'm going to go over this. Officers killed in the month of January 2020. There was 12 of them in the month of January 2020 in the U.S. I did a radio show today on my radio channel, and we went over this a little bit, and I'm gonna go into more detail here, and I'm gonna put it up on the screen here and go over it. The link to where I'm getting the information is in the body of the video on YouTube as well as Facebook. If you want to click the link and see where I'm getting my information, it's right there. Officer Down Memorial page. Honoring officers killed in 2020. Let me pull this page up here and we'll get this thing going. We'll go over a few of these. If you're still here, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate having you here. Let me do this. There we go. So we're glad to have you here. So let's go over this for a minute. If you watched my radio show today or listened to my radio show today, I played a good part of the afternoon, couple 2.5 hours or so. And we talked a little bit about this. You're going to get a little more detail here. So for the month of January, there was 12 law enforcement officers killed in the United States. And I'm going to run by them real quick, and then we're going to go into detail on each one for those interested. It'll be kind of a lengthy video, I think, but we're going to go into detail on each one of these 12 and talk about a few things. So Included in the 12, there was a 9/11 related illness, an automobile crash, 3 gunfire incidences, a heart attack, a motorcycle crash, 3 officers were struck by vehicles. 1 was involved in a vehicle pursuit, and 1 was a vehicular assault. Don't have the breakdown for that right at the moment, but we will go into those in detail. So for January, right there. Oops, January, right there. There was 12. By state, California, Florida, and Georgia each had 1. Hawaii had 2. New York 1. Oklahoma, South Carolina 1 each. Texas 2. Virginia 2. That's the breakdown by state. 8 of the officers were male. 4 were female. Average age was 36 years old. Still raising babies. Average tour of duty, 8 years, 10 months. So the average of the 12 was an 8-year veteran. They weren't new on the street for sure. So, and then there was 1 canine in the line of duty death. And it was involved in an automobile crash, it says. So I'm thinking we will find this automobile crash up here. Probably had a canine unit. We'll get there. We're going to go down through each one of these. All right. The first one, Investigator Ryan D. Fortini. Hopefully I pronounce these correctly. If not, my apologies. I'll do the best I can. He's a 42-year-old, 16-year veteran. He was also a military veteran. He worked for the New York State Police Department, or the New York State Police, New York. He was a state patrolman. End of watch, Wednesday, January 1st, 2020. So he was the first one in January. His story's a little bit different than these others. He died 9/11/01. It just didn't kill him yet. He was involved in recovery efforts at the World Trade Center following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. He was a U.S. Army veteran, served with the New York State Police for 16 years, and had to medically retire in 2015 due to a cancer illness stemming from breathing in the air during the cleanup and rescue efforts at the 9/11 terrorist attacks at the World Trade Center. It just goes on and tells the story. I'm going to put it up here for anybody that wants to read it. Also, like I said, it's linked in the thing. You can certainly click the link and see what I'm seeing. It tells about the September 11, 2001, 72 officers from a total of 8 local, state, and federal agencies were killed when terrorist hijackers working for Al-Qaeda terrorist network headed by Osama bin Laden crashed 4 hijacked planes into the World Trade Center towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I know you all remember it, and we shall never forget those attacks on our own soil. I struggle with all of this that went on. I struggle with those who support the terrorist countries. Yeah, sickens me. Let's see. It goes on to tell about it in more detail about the attacks and let's see. President Bush posthumously awarded all of the public safety officers killed on September 11, 2001, on September 9, 2005. So on May 1st, 2011, members of the United States military conducted a raid on a compound in Pakistan and killed Osama bin Laden. Investigator Ryan D. Fortini. Next one. Public Safety Officer Jackson Ryan Winkler. Winkler, I think I pronounced that right. Florence Regional Airport, Department of Public Safety, South Carolina. End of watch, Sunday, January 5th, 2020. 26 years old. Unknown years of service. An unknown type of gunfire. Offenders in custody. Jackson Ryan Winkler. Public Safety Officer Jackson Winkler was shot and killed while conducting a traffic stop on Gilbert Avenue near the airport's terminal shortly before 6 a.m. The man opened fire on Officer Winkler during the stop. Over 30 shots were exchanged during the ensuing shootout. The man then stole Officer Winkler's service weapon and fled the scene. He was arrested a short time later by members of the Florence County Sheriff's Office. Officer Winkler also served as a volunteer firefighter with the Lotta Fire Department. He is survived pre-deceased by one other brother and is by his parents and sisters. Number 3, Police Officer Paul Dunn, Lakeland Police Department, Florida. End of watch, Thursday, January 9th, 2020. 50 years old, 18-year police veteran, and was also a military veteran. Cause, motorcycle crash. Officer Paul Dunn was killed in a motorcycle crash in Lakeland Highlands Road, south of Lake Merriam Drive at approximately 5:45 a.m. He was en route to the police station on his department motorcycle when he struck the raised median of the roadway. He was thrown from the motorcycle and sustained fatal injuries. Officer Dunn was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. He had served with the Lakeland Police Department for 6 years and had previously served with the Polk County Sheriff's Office for 12 years. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, and 2 stepdaughters. Police Officer Nicholas Reyna, Lubbock, Texas Police Department. End of watch, Saturday, January 11th, 2020. 27-year-old, 1 year on the job, struck by a vehicle. Nicholas Reyna, Police Officer Nicholas Reyna, and Lieutenant Eric Hill of the Lubbock Fire Department were struck and killed by a vehicle while at the scene of a previous crash on I-27 near Drew Street. I happen to know where I-27 runs through there. Officers and rescue personnel were at the scene of an earlier single vehicle rollover crash on the interstate when a second vehicle also crossed the median. As officers then dealt with the second crash, a third vehicle left the travel lanes and struck Officer Reyna, Lieutenant Hill, and a second firefighter. Officer Reyna and Lieutenant Hill both suffered fatal injuries, and the second firefighter was critically injured. Officer Reyna served with the Lubbock Police Department for 1 year. Got to slow down, move over, and pay attention when these first responders are out there working. I know I have jumped the guardrails over the sisters on I-80 east of Evanston more times than I can tell you, jumping over guardrails to keep from being hit. It's real, folks. Got to move over. Next one of the ladies, Detective Amber Joy Least, L-E-I-S-T. I'm assuming it's Least. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, California. End of watch, Sunday, January 12th, 2020. 41 years old, 12-year police veteran, struck by a vehicle. Here's another one. Struck by a vehicle. Detective Amber Joy Least was struck and killed by a vehicle at the intersection of Riverside Drive and Whitsett Avenue in Los Angeles at 11:05 a.m. She was off duty when she observed an elderly woman fall in the roadway while attempting to cross at the intersection. Detective Least immediately stopped her vehicle and assisted the woman off of the roadway in order to prevent the citizen from being struck. As Detective Least returned to her car, she was struck by an oncoming vehicle. Detective Least had served the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for 12 years. She is survived by 2 sons. Struck by a vehicle while trying to help somebody and off duty. Next one, Deputy Sheriff Jared Taylor, Bryan County Sheriff's Office, Oklahoma. End of watch, Tuesday, January 14th, 2020. See if that's a little bit easier to see without my mug in there. 31 years old, 1 year, 11 months, just shy of 2 year. Automobile crash. Deputy Sheriff Jared Taylor was killed in an automobile crash while responding to an emergency call about 6 a.m. His patrol car left the roadway and struck a tree on Old Highway 70 near Lone Oak Road, east of Durant, Oklahoma. Deputy Taylor had served with the Bryan County Sheriff's Office for just under 2 years. He is survived by 2 children and a fiancé. The next 2 are the Honolulu Police Department, Hawaii. End of watch, January 19th, 2020. Officer Tiffany Victoria Bailon Enriquez, 38 years old, 7-year police veteran, was also a military veteran. Gunfire, unknown type of weapon. Offender was presumed dead. Tiffany Victoria Bailon Enriquez. Officer Enriquez and Officer Kulite Kalama were shot and killed while responding to a stabbing call at a home, 3015 Hibiscus Drive, shortly after 9 a.m. An elderly woman had filed eviction paperwork against her tenant who suffered from mental health issues and had been falsely calling 911 repeatedly in recent weeks. The landlord and tenant became engaged in arguments in which the man stabbed the woman. Officer Enriquez was one of the first officers who arrived at the scene and tended to the victim outside the home. As she and other officers walked toward the house, a man opened fire, killing her. Officer Kalama was shot moments later as he and other officers arrived on the scene. Both officers were shot in areas above their bulletproof vests. Sniper type shooting. After shooting the officers, the man barricaded himself inside and set it on fire. The flames spread to neighboring homes, destroying a total of 7 homes. I heard about this. The men and women were presumed dead in the fire. The man and 2 women were presumed dead in the fire. Officer Enriquez was a U.S. Air Force Reserves veteran. She had served with Honolulu Police Department for 7 years and had previously served with Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee. She is survived by 3 daughters and a grandson. Officer Kulite Kalama, Honolulu Police Department, same end of watch, Sunday 19th, 2020. He was with Officer Enriquez. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. He was shot at the same incident she was. He was 34 years old, had 9 years police service. And again, he was shot, gunfire unknown type, and the suspect was presumed dead in the fire. Officer Kualai Kalama, 34 years old, 9 years experience. Deputy Sheriff Sheldon Gordon Whiteman, Long County Sheriff's Office, Georgia. End of watch, Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. 44-year-old, 4 years, 4 months experience with the Long County Sheriff's Office, Georgia. Vehicle pursuit, offender at large. Let's read about it. Sheldon Gordon Whiteman, Deputy Sheriff Sheldon Whiteman, was killed in a crash while involved in a vehicle pursuit approximately 3 a.m. Officers with the Ludowicki Police Department had initiated the pursuit when they attempted to stop a vehicle for traffic violation. The vehicle fled on Highway 57 toward McIntosh County with officers in pursuit. Deputy Whiteman had just joined the pursuit when his vehicle left the roadway and struck several trees near Tibbet Road Southeast. He was transported to Liberty Regional Medical Center in Hinesville, where he succumbed to his injuries. The vehicle that was being pursued was later found abandoned in McIntosh County, and the driver remains at large. Deputy Whiteman had served with the Long County Sheriff's Office for 4 months and had previously served with the Chatham County Sheriff's Office for 4 years. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, and his father. Vehicle crash. Another one of the ladies. Police Officer Katherine Mary Tyner. I'm thinking. Newport News Police Department, Virginia. End of watch, Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. 24-year-old, 1-year police veteran, and also a military veteran. Vehicular assault. Offender apprehended and charged. Katherine Mary Tyner. Police officer Katie Tyner died after being dragged by a vehicle while conducting an investigation. She and her partner were investigating reports of drug activity when they approached a car along the 1400 block 16th Street, Newport News. During the investigation, the driver sped off, dragging police officer Tyner for a block. The vehicle struck a tree, and Officer Tyner was pinned between the tree and the vehicle door. Police officer Tyner was taken to Centara Norfolk General Hospital, where she died from her injuries. The driver of the vehicle was taken to custody and charged with felony homicide, evading and eluding, and possession of narcotics. Police officer Tyner served the Newport News Police Department for approximately 1 year and had previously served with the United States Navy. Police officer Tyner is survived by her 2-year-old daughter, fiance, mother, 3 brothers, and grandparents. Newport News, Virginia. Major Angelinette Moore, Virginia Peninsula Regional Jail, Virginia. End of watch, Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. 40 years old, 20-year police veteran. Heart attack. Major Angelinette Moore suffered a fatal heart attack following a shakedown in one of the housing units at the Virginia Peninsula Regional Jail. 40 years old. Wow. Several hours after the shakedown, she returned to the housing unit to provide disciplinary guidance to inmates. As she completed her discussion with the inmates, she collapsed. Other officers and medical staff immediately began CPR, but were unable to resuscitate her. Major Moore had served with the Virginia Peninsula Regional Jail for 20 years and served as the agency's director of security. She is survived by her husband and son. Too bad, 40 years old. You never know. I preach this all the time. You just gotta make sure you're living your life, man, because you never know when it's your time, and when it is, it is. Not a lot you can do about it. Last one before we do the K9. Police Officer Alan McCollum, Corpus Christi, Texas Police Department. Another Texas man. End of watch Friday, January 31st, 2020. His age is not available. He was a 7-year police veteran and also a military veteran. Alan McCollum. Police officer Alan McCollum was struck and killed by a vehicle while conducting a traffic stop on Highway 358 near Carroll Lane at 9:30 p.m. He and 2 other officers were on the scene of the stop when another vehicle struck one of the patrol cars, then struck him and a second officer. Officer McCollum suffered fatal injuries, and the other officer suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Officer McCollum was a U.S. Army veteran and a recipient of a Bronze Star. He had served with the Corpus Christi Police Department for almost 7 years, survived by his wife and 3 children. Slow down, move over, slow down, move over, slow down, move over. So many times, I run this stretch of road every day out here on I-15, and it's about a 30 mile stretch or so, maybe a little more. So many times you'll see an officer on a traffic stop, and most everybody moves over to the other lane. However, you'll always see somebody that forgets to do so, and they stay in that lane. Got to move over. It's important so these folks can go home. And I have not been paying attention to comments. Let's see what we got here. I see that there is a couple. Hey, Rowdy, Sean, I don't know who's still on here, but peace, fellers. Thanks for joining me. Let's do the K9. We'll wrap this up. Oh, is it going to let us? Let's see. Yep. K9 Thor, Henry County Police Department, Georgia. End of watch Thursday, January 9th, 2020. Is a Belgian Malinois male, 5 years old, been on duty for 6 months. Died in an automobile crash. K9 Thor was killed when the patrol car he was riding in collided with a tractor trailer on I-75 near mile marker 206 in Spalding County. His and another officer were on patrol and were making a U-turn in a median turnaround. As they entered back into traffic, the patrol car was struck by a tractor trailer. K9 Thor was killed as a result of the collision. Both officers and the driver's semi were injured. K9 Thor had served with the Henry County Police Department for 6 months. That's how the K9 in January 2020. My mouse is giving me some fits here. All right, so there you have it. That is the 12 law enforcement officers that lost their lives in the line of duty January 2020. Like I said, I'm going to do this every month and throughout the year. And if I can find a place to get the ones for the military as well, I will do them. But I wanted to share this with you. Like I said, we didn't do our video last night, and I was sitting around today listening to the wind blow and thought, I'm going to do this. And I saw some of these, and I see some of my friends on Facebook try to keep up and keep them posted and whatnot. And I don't know if this is the best link to get them from. If anybody has anything better, let me know. This is what I could find by doing some Google searches. So hopefully I did not miss anybody. And like I said at the beginning of the video, nobody's life is more important than anybody else's. And it's crazy how they sensationalize some people and others you don't hear nothing about. But that's the media that we have today. Our media is so biased and so targeted on one mission that they don't talk about the important stuff. They've got an agenda. They're being paid to talk about what they're told to be talked about. So it saddens me. But anyway, once a month, I'll do these. I'll keep up with these and post them in the videos. And that's my 2 cents on it. Never have said it, but thanks for being part of it. Let's put this up here to read, Mr. Dean. Never have said it, but thanks for being part of giving me a solid foundation. Law enforcement, Rowdy. Man, you're welcome. Thanks for that. Means a lot. It does. And, you know, it is cool to see you guys and you doing so well out there. You've made a good career for yourself. And that's because of who you are. So good job. Once a month, we'll do these. I'm going to keep up with it. And that's it for tonight, you guys. I'm going to wrap this thing up, bring it to a close. Remember our fallen officers. Remember our fallen military. They're important to us, very important to us. I can't think of I can't think what life would be like without law enforcement officers. I mean, it would be Wild West, shoot them up, because it'd be to each his own. You know, you'd have to defend yourself and whatnot. But also, since I do have Rowdy on here, I want to say this. It brought great joy to my heart today to see the article posted by Uinta County Law Enforcement about the Higgins death in, I believe it was 2001, either 1 or 3, that there may be some closure forthcoming in that case. That would be so good. It was a homicide case that semi went cold, lack of physical evidence. So, man, it was good to see that today. I'm following it. I commented, so hopefully I'll get the updates. I want to see what happens there. I'm pretty sure I know, but I'm very curious to see how you folks got there. Congratulations to the law enforcement, Utah, Wyoming, everybody working together to put this stuff together. Like I said, I can't wait to see the outcome. Good job. That is a good deal, man. And very, very, very excited me. So that's my to you, Uinta County, Wyoming law enforcement personnel. My hats off to you, man. My brothers, sisters, be safe out there. That's it. I'm out. Peace. Have a good rest of the day.